you to something. See these brown books in the middle? It's actually a gift. You can keep it. They were giving these away. And I don't know if you've ever seen them, but this is an amazing phenomenon of Jewish...
You can keep it?
Yes. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yes. I'm sure. Turn to Parashat Pinchas, because Pinchas is here today. Problem is there's no page numbers. You have to look about 3/4 of... So let's go to page 1 then. That's easy. Everybody should be able to find page 1.
Page Aleph.
What is it called? You see the title is called Mikraot Gedolot. I want to teach you a little bit about Mikraot Gedolot, what that is, and how it works. So turn to the first page. It says Bamidbar Aleph. See, it looks like this. You see this page? Pinchas, I changed my mind. I want you to go to page 1.
Beginning. Pinchas.
He wants to see his name.
Oh.
He wants to see his name first. Pinchas. I changed my mind. Now page 1.
No,
Page 1. Page 1. Open the book. We're going to look at the same page together. Not Pinchas. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. Now page 1. So yeah. Okay. Page 1. You found Pinchas very well because that's your name, so you know. But page 1. Okay, Bamidbar. This is the book of Bamidbar. It's one of the 5 books of Moses. Now, when they started to print, when did they start printing books, Jewish books? Well, around year 1500. The first one to print Jewish books on a large scale, his name was a Christian printer. Before that, they didn't have the printing press. It was manuscripts, all by hand. The printing press was developed at the end of the 15th century, the beginning of the 16th. In 1520, I believe, a Christian a printer called Weinberg, he decided to print Jewish books. And one of the first books he printed was the Bible in Hebrew, because Jews read a lot of books, so he'll sell a lot of books. So he hired some Jews and some Jews who became Christians, all kinds of scholars, to put together a book. The book, he didn't just print the Chumash by itself. He printed it with commentaries. That's called glosses, you could say. A gloss is commentaries on the side. We're very used to it. But you guys are used to seeing only Chumash with Rashi, Chumash and Rashi, right? The Torah and Rashi. Look at the page in front of you. There's so many commentaries. On the far right, you see the Chumash, the big letters. Okay, that's the central text on the page. But ever since they started to print Jewish books, they print the text with commentaries. The oldest commentary here is right next to the Chumash. You see it over here? What does it say on top? Onkelos was a convert. He translated the Torah into Aramaic. This is during the Second Temple period. The earliest commentary we have is the translation of Onkelos. But you'll see that actually there's another commentary, translation. It says over here on the next page, Yonatan ben Uziel. Let me maybe share with Pinchas for now, so you can look together. Yonatan ben Uziel. You know what? I'll give you this book, although it's not Bamidbar. This is Vayikra, but it's the same idea, pretty much. Here, you can look at Vayikra if you want, Stephen, to have your own. This is Vayikra. We're just showing the Chumash text is here. The Targum Onkelos. Targum means translation. Onkelos is his name. And then on the next page is Targum Yonatan ben Uziel. You see the top of the page? In Stephen's book, there's 2. There's Yonatan ben Uziel over here, and over here is another translation called Targum Yerushalmi. It's not really from Jerusalem. There's different opinions about exactly where it comes from. But the first thing to look at in this Mikraot Gedolot means big Bible. Mikra is the text, and you can see the title here. This is a form of how the Torah is printed with commentaries. So far we saw 3 texts. We saw the Chumash itself, the Targum Onkelos in Aramaic, and then the Targum Yonatan ben Uziel. He was a Tana. Yonatan ben Uziel, people go to pray at his gravesite in the north. He was also very early, just after the Second Temple period. The earliest commentaries we have are the Targumim, the translations to Aramaic. And there's a third translation here, Targum Yerushalmi. Not every printer puts the same commentaries in. And not all I don't know if we have Targum Yerushalmi on the entire text. I'm not sure. Okay, let's see what else we see on the page. Let's go back to page 1, the first page. Underneath Targum Onkelos, also very, very ancient. There's little letters. What is the first word there? It says under the Targum Onkelos. Masora. Masora. No, Mesora means tradition. I taught you that word before, right? Mesora means tradition. But this is a very specific a very specific research. This was a group of scholars who, during the period of, you could say, the Geonim, during the period of the Geonim, so after the Tanaim. The next, historically, chronologically, the Ba'alei Masorah, they wrote notes. If you see lots of dots and Masorah. Aleph, let's read it a little bit, okay? Aleph, El Moshe, Yud, Chaser, Leimor, Me'eretz, Gimel. It's code. It's like, that's not a sentence. That's not a word. And then Bet. Bet, of course, refers to Pasuk Bet. You see where I'm reading? Masorah. Bet. Se'u. Yud Bet. Reish Pei. What does that mean? They're just letters. Next. Lemishpechotam. Kol. Omer. Chaser. Be-mach. Shmot. Tet. Milamed Batorah. Legulgolotam, kulam chaser dechaser. Then we have letter Gimel. Gimel is for Pasuk Gimel. What's going on here is that these are notes about the writing of the Torah, the specific spelling of the Torah. And on each Pasuk they say, don't make a mistake about how the correct text is supposed to be written. They're called Masoretic. That's why this Bible that we read, it's called the Masoretic text. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
It's the text that's been checked and edited by these people who wrote the Masorah. And all these notes about this word is with a yud, this word is without a word. And I'm not going to explain all of them. I don't know all of them, but many of them say that, for example, Se'u, there's 12 times it appears in the Torah at the beginning of a pasuk. Lemishpechotam always is missing a vav. You could write Lemishpechotam Cho Chet Vav, or you could write it Chet without a vav. Chet Taf. Lemishpechotam. So here it tells you, does it have a vav or does it not have a vav? And because of these notes, not all the Chumushim have this commentary. They don't always have this. It's very special to have it here. Because of that, until today, almost 1,000 years have passed, and there's no changes in the Torah's text. Almost 0.1% of different traditions about how the correct text of the Chumash is. It's from the Ba'alei Masorah. Okay, that's why it's called the Masoretic text. It's the one we use. Of course, there's other versions, other places, but we follow these great rabbis who gave us all the notations, all the comments on every pasuk, exactly what the spelling is and what the unique spellings are and how they differ from other places. Let's see what else we can see. Let's go underneath the Masorah. This is a cute book. Toldot Aaron. It says over here, Taf Aleph. Toldot Aaron, it gives you references to the Shas, where in the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah is this pasuk discussed. This is also just references. This is just references. Okay, next. After that, we have this one you're familiar with, Rashi. Obviously, you can see that the Masorah is in Rashi's script, and Rashi is also it's a convention the printers decided to use. It's actually a little bit influenced by the Spanish writing. Rashi would never have used this type of font. Rashi himself would not have written in Rashi script. We call it Rashi script because the printers decided to use it for Rashi's commentary and for many of the commentaries, as we see. But it's not really Rashi's writing. Nothing to do. No, it's by the printers. The printers. Yeah. So Rashi, and then underneath it we have Ramban. Ramban is Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. Right. Rashi's 11th century. Ramban's 13th century. In Spain, Rashi's in France. The Ramban is in Spain. And then at the bottom you have something called Ikar Siftei Chachamim. Siftei Chachamim is a book written commentary on Rashi. And this is only Ikar, it's only the core of the Siftei Chachamim, the main points. They shortened the book because they wanted to get so many other commentaries on the page. So this is a shortened commentary on Rashi. Let's go to the next page. So we already talked about the Targum Onkelos. Under that we have Baal HaTurim. I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned that there was a halachic book written in the 15th century that became very popular. It's one of the first Jewish books to be printed because everybody needed a book of halakha, code of law. What's the codes of law that you know of? Good, the Torah, the 4 columns. So this is by the same man. He wrote a commentary on the Torah, Baal HaTurim. And this is, underneath that, we have the Ramban. That's the continuation. We started the Ramban on the previous page. Apparently he's a lot to say on this topic. And then Ibn Ezra. Have you heard of Ibn Ezra? Rabbi Avraham Ibn Ezra, 14th century in Spain. Wonderful commentary. And then underneath it you see Perush al Ibn Ezra. It's a commentary on the commentary. Just like we have a commentary on Rashi here, we have a commentary on Ibn Ezra here. Underneath that, Seforno, an Italian scholar, also from the 14th century. And finally, Perush Rashbam, you can see on the bottom of the page, Rashbam was Rashi's grandson. Rabbi Shmuel ben Meir. Meir married Rashi's daughter, and Rashbam, he wrote a commentary, and he says, I discussed the Torah with my grandfather so many times. And my grandfather admitted to me that my commentaries were very powerful. And he said, if I had to, the old man Rashi says, if I had to, I could write a whole new commentary from the beginning, because there's no end to the insights into the Torah. Okay, so this is one form of a very famous form of Mikraot Gedolot. Let me help you to take notes on everything that we just saw. I actually found this online. There's a book somebody wrote about Jewish texts. And I'll let you hand this around. As you can see, it has everything we just covered. And on the bottom, it tells you a little bit about when they're from. One more? Sure. On the top we have, this is from Book of Bereshit. Number 1 is the text of the Chumash. Number 2 It's not on the page. I'll show you on the next page. I'm going to give you in a minute. Number 2. Number 3 is Unkelos. Very good. Here he says year 81 approximately. Number 4. Rashi. You know Rashi, 12th century. Right? Number 5, it's not on the page. Number 6, not on the page. Number 7, not on the page. 8. Number 8? In the bottom it says Bala Turim. You can see each page of the layout's a little different. The printers wanted to fit all the commentaries on the page. What's number 9? Not on the page. 10? 10 at the bottom? 10 and 12. We didn't see that in our edition. Because every printer chooses to put different commentaries on the page. What's special about the Kli Yakar and the Or Chaim, when do they live? You could see the numbers. Number 10 and 12. 1619 and 1741. 10 and 12. Meaning, Acharonim, very good. Sometimes Mikaot Gedolot have only Rishonim from the first 500 years of the millennium. And sometimes, like this edition, it has also on the bottom Acharonim. Kli Yakar was by Rabbi Yitzchak Mecklenburg. Amazing Torah scholar who tried to connect and show how the oral law is connected to the written law, and the Or Chaim is known as the Or Chaim HaKadosh, the holy light of life. Or Chaim HaKadosh lived in Tzfat, and he wrote a beautiful perush with Kabbalistic insights, as you can see. He's from 1741. It's already after the Kabbalistic school in Tzfat became popular. Okay, in the second page, is pass these around too. And this is the opposite page, right? So this really shows you, just like the book. Hey, here's a book for Hananel. This is a gift for you, Hananel. So you can have a book of Mikaot Gedolot that looks like this. So you hold it like this, and you can see all together the 2 pages, just like in the book in front of you. And so now we can go back and look at what's number 2. The top of page, on the second page. Right, what's number 2? Right, that's the, what year? Year 9, wow, you see that? This is a period, that's the earliest, even before Onkelos. According to this interpretation, there's some differences. Then we have underneath number 2 is number 5. This is? Rashbam. We saw Rashbam in our text, right? In our text, it was at the bottom of the page, right? Here it's on the other side, in the middle. Okay, and next to number 5, you see something called Perush Yonatan. It's a commentary on the Targum Yonatan. Yonatan. We don't have a Yonatan here. We have an Eitan. Not a Yonatan. Where is your commentary, Eitan? Siftei Chachamim is number 11, but there's 11 and 11b. Why is there 11 and 11b? What is Siftei Chachamim? Who remembers? And when was it written? Look, we're looking for number 11 now.
Yes.
On the 2 pages I gave you. Michael, Arya, hold them like this. Look, hold them both so you see both at once. Put them in front of you like this. Look for 11 and 11b.
11 is?
11 is on the right-hand side. 11b is on the left side. Siftei Chachamim. You can see on the footnote. The footnote tells you what it is in English. Siftei Chachamim. You mean the lips of the sages? It's a commentary written in 1689 on Rashi. Remember I told you that? Siftei Chachamim is a commentary on Rashi. So why is there 11 and 11b? It's just because it continues. That's right, it's a continue. Right. Just like Rashi continues. We have 4. Who finds 4 on the right-hand side? On the right-hand side, 4. And 4b on the left-hand side. Because the Rashi continues from one page to the next page. Ravid, are you following?
Yeah.
Excellent. What are we up to now? Number 5 is Rashbam, we already spoke about. And next we'll go to number 6. It's the Ibn Ezra. Ibn Ezra. We said, when did he live? 1164. I said before 14th century. He's earlier. 12th century. Yeah. Next. Number 7, Rambam. 13th century. I got that right. Number 8. Where's number 8? The Baal HaTurim. 1340. I guess they're going in the order of the footnotes are going in the order of chronological order. Right? Of course, it starts number 1 is the Chumash. Look at all. Extra pages. Where's the extra pages? That's here you go. 2 pages for you as well. Okay? Perfect. So what are we up to? Number
9.
Number 8 was Baal HaTurim, the commentary of the author of the Tur, Rabbi Yaakov ben Asher was his name. And number 9 is Phonos. Phono, as I said, he's much later even. 14th, I think I said 15th century. I think I said 14th, but there's 15th century from Italy, the Sforno. Where's number 9 on the page? Bottom left. You see it? Number 9 on the page, the bottom left. Pinchas, hold them together like this, in front of you. So you see, in the bottom left, it's 1 page really. It's like this layout that I gave you this text. It's here and here. But here it has the footnotes. It tells you what the commentaries are from. And here's a book for Israel. It's a gift for you. This is called Mikraot Gedolot, the Great Bible. In English it says Chumash with commentaries. And you see the first edition is in 1516. The bottom left-hand side, it says on your page. The first edition of the Mikraot Gedolot, printed by Weinberg in Venice, I believe, in Italy.
You have also Stein Mikra now, huh? Stein Mikra?
That's something else. I'll explain another time. But the word Mikra means Bible. So Mikraot Gedolot means a Bible with commentaries. And it became almost standardized. Rashi is everywhere. Ramban. But you can see there's some changes. After number 9 comes number 10. Where do you find number 10?
That is the Bali Yakar?
Kli.
Oh, Kli Yakar.
Kli Yakar. You can see in the bottom footnote, Kli Yakar from the 17th century. Mecklenburg. Right.
England?
No. Where was he from? It's like Mecklenburg, I think from Germany. Berg. Mecklenburg. It's a Germanic ending. Number 10 and 10b. You see 10b on the other side? Because the commentary continues. Then we have 11. 11 is Siftei Chachamim. We already talked about it, the commentary on Rashi. Finally, the oldest commentary we have on the page is the Orach Chaim in 1741. So obviously, this edition was not printed in 1516. Why? You couldn't have the commentaries of Orach Chaim and Kli Yakar if this is an exact copy of the Mikraot Gedolot of Weinberg. He only had commentaries up to his day, which only Rishonim, exactly. So the original concept of Mikraot Gedolot only included Rishonim. But in later years, the printers decided to add additional commentaries from later years that were maybe they printed in Germany and they wanted to have the Kli Yakar because it's German, or maybe they wanted Kabbalah became very popular, so Orach Chaim HaKadosh was a very popular work. So they said, we'll let people buy our books. Over time, of course, Jewish people got into the printing business, and we have Jewish printings as well. But the earliest concept of having a text with commentaries next to it and commentaries on commentaries, this is a layout. What did we just finish? Yesterday was Shabbat. What Shabbat was yesterday?
Shira.
There's 2 names, right? The Parsha was Parashat Beshalach, Shabbat Beshalach. It has a special name, Shabbat Shira, because in the Parsha we have a special song. What did I tell you? What did I tell you better to say?
Shira.
Translate Shir into English.
Song of Songs.
Song is one translation, but there's no other word in Hebrew for poem. There you go. It's the poem of Moshe. Not song, you think melody. It's a poem. It's a form of poetry. We spoke about the layout. The poetry many times is different. Right? There's sections of white space which guide your eye and teach you how to sing it. So I think that the layout here is a little bit like poetry also. It's very complicated, very rich. The fact that you have on the same page, you have a commentary from the land of Israel, from the 1st century, and you have commentary from France, from Spain, Ramban, Ibn Ezra, from Italy, Sforno, from Germany, from the land of Israel again, from Tzfat. You have, and they're all having a conversation with each other. And you have commentary, and commentary, and commentary. Teaches us so much about the Jewish tradition. First of all, what did I teach you? You guys already know the terms. Geonim, Tanaim, Rishonim, Achronim. There's layers, periods of Jewish history, of Jewish scholarship. And this layout shows you that. To appreciate, you have to, when you read it, you have to appreciate. This is from, Targum. That's the oldest. That's from the periods of even the period of the Tanaim, right? And then you have Rashi. Or what did I say? The Masorah. This edition doesn't have the comments of the Masorah. You see that?
Yeah, there's no
The book I showed you, of course, has the editorial notes about the text, the Masorah. You have that in your book, something that you don't have on the pages. They took it out over the years because they used the text based on those notes, but many people didn't know how to read those little cryptic notes. It's not really a commentary. It's about the text. It's like footnotes of an academic nature, and so they stopped printing them in many texts. That's why I wanted to show you this one. It has it in there, and I gave you this as a gift. This is yours. You can see this. Of course, you can get a whole set, and I have over here. Whoever is going to be the best student this week is going to get a complete set of the 5 books of Moses, Mikaot Gedolot, and as you can see, they all have this layout. I'm going to give you a test, and whoever knows exactly the layout and who everybody is and when they lived, you have all the answers in front of you. You will get the whole set of Mikaot Gedolot. It's all Hebrew. There's no translation here. There is now a Mikaot Gedolot translated into English. A few editions. There's a recent one that just came out. It's very good. But this is the concept. It's called in English a glossed text. Gloss is commentaries in the margin, and the text is the major. So you have one text. You have on one page the major text, the major work, and then commentaries. And commentaries on commentaries. One more thing in that. So what makes this very appropriate for here, I'll put it on top here. So this is the prize. Keep your eyes on the prize, right? A full, complete set. What makes this very appropriate for Jewish learning is, number one, I said the layered generations of different commentaries, who each refer to the previous one, and number two, the fact that it's a conversation. It's a dialogue between the generations. Because, of course, Rashi and Ramban disagree sometimes. And even Ramban disagrees with Ibn Ezra. And then the Sforno comes. Of course, I mentioned the Rashbam and his grandfather, Rashi. There's an intergenerational dialogue here. On the page in front of you. So beautiful. And, of course, all over geography. Throughout the entire world, or the world where Jews lived and where scholarship was, at least all over Europe and the Middle East. America wasn't discovered until later. But now we have actually American commentaries as well, who join the conversation. And there's Iraqi, Far East commentaries as well. But, of course, the printers in Europe didn't really know about them or talk about them too much. Yeah.
Because also the famous commentaries are like the Abarbanel and the other one.
16th century. He was one of the exiles from Spain. It's usually printed as a separate book because it's so long. If you tried to put the Abarbanel on the page, it would take up the whole page.
And what's the other one with the M? So with the
Malbim.
Malbim.
Also, he's parallel to Kliakar. His very end. He's an Achron, the Malbim, and he also dealt with trying to. I think he was sort of fighting. Both of them were fighting against the reformers who tried to separate and say, "Oh, there's the biblical text, and then there's the oral tradition," and they wanted to combine the two to show Jewish tradition. We read them together. The oral Torah, what's in the Talmud, is really comes out of a very careful reading of the text. It's not two separate traditions; they're actually one and the same tradition. So the Malbim and the Kliakar, they try to focus on that in their texts, and that's. But again, Malbim is also so long. When he published his commentary, he published it with the Chumash, the Targum. Almost everybody always puts the Targum, and then Rashi, only Rashi, and then his commentary, Malbim. The Malbim is rarely part of a Mikraot Gedalot, a multi-commentary edition of the Chumash, which the Mikraot Gedalot is. Okay, Seder? Yes. Questions?
Do Rabbeinu Tam
Yes.
with the Lim
Yes.
and Rashi in connection with each other?
They were both great rabbis in France in the 11th and 12th century. And the Tosafot, Rabbeinu Tam is one of the Baalei Tosafot. It's a group of scholars. And they always comment on Rashi and many times disagree, but they're French rabbis.
But he was also the grandson, the brother of Rashbam.
Was he the brother of Rashbam?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't remember that.
I checked it on
Oh,
Wiki.
perfect.
Because I thought Rabbeinu Tam is the grandson. How is Rabbeinu Tam?
His name was Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov, I forget his father's name, but if you say he was a grandson, it could be he's also a grandson of Rashi. I don't remember specifically.
But they all go against their own grandfather. That's funny.
And he was not against. A dialogue. That's what we said, right? It's a dialogue, conversation. Different opinions. You see so many more colors in the text if you have different perspectives. Yafeh. Okay, now I want to show you one more thing, which is something you have to know. And here we're getting closer to understanding Talmud. Pass these around, please. One each. And this is also a gift for you. Yeah. Who else needs one?
Steve?
When he comes back, I'll give him one. Okay. So you can see, this is also, what's the title? Mikraot Gedolot. The book of Dvarim. Or you have Vayikra, everybody has a different value. Go to page 1. Very simple. This was printed later. Oh, page 1's pretty. If you look at page 1, it's pretty. Look, page 1. Wow, they made a nice, pretty art. But you're right. Let's go to page 2. They put the first word to make it pretty in art, but it just confuses us. Let's go to the standard page. Standard page looks like this. In this book. You have the new book I just gave you. Here you go. So look at page 2, and you see, this is also Mikraot Gdolot. What's the difference? Or what's similar? What do you notice, first of all?
It looks like the Talmud. It's like in the middle you have the... It's like Mishnah
In the past, we had the text on the side, the Chumash on the side, and then we had commentaries to the side of it and underneath, right? And in this book, where's the text?
In the middle.
In the middle. Very interesting. They changed it a little bit. They put the maiden text in the middle. And what's next to it in the middle? What's this text right next to it? That's the Targum Onkelos.
Which one? On the right?
Well, it's on the outer side of the page. In each page, it's closer to the binding is the Chumash, and farther away from the binding is the Targum. You see it's on the right over here and on the left or on the other side.
Smaller letters.
Smaller letters, the different font. Do you see that? Inside, in the middle,
Yes.
where there's the big text, right next to it there's a small text. That's the Targum. So you can read the Chumash with the Targum very, very easily next to it. Once it's on the right, once it's on the left. You understand why?
Could be closer in the middle.
Because the binding should be on the inner side, closer to the binding, and the outer side. Ravi, do you understand what I'm explaining now? So far, so good? What's in between the Chumash text and the Targum Onkelos? Little letters in the margin.
The Masorah.
That's the Masorah. Very good. And if you look underneath here, you see here the Masorah in larger, in more lines. There's the Masorah was divided up into two books. Masorah Ktana, little footnotes, just like one or two words, and the Masorah Gdolah is on the bottom, or in some places, in some manuscripts, it was on the top of the page and on the bottom of the page. So this is the Masorah. Okay, you see, it says Mem Vav Lamed. I don't know why. Why is it Mem Vav Lamed?
How about these walls, right?
It's also a gift.
Okay, thank you.
It's also a gift. You can write in it, explain what it is. But you can choose any page and you see, in between the text of the Chumash and the Targum Onkelos, you have in the middle little comments that are called Masorah Ktana. And on the margin, somewhere else on the page, you'll find more little footnotes like that. That's about the text, the spelling of the text. This is the Masoretes. The Masoretes are a group of scholars who basically did an annotated version of the text itself to preserve the correct spelling of every single word of the Tanakh. Until today, we follow their decisions about what the correct text of the Chumash is. What else could you see? So let's go here. So we saw the Chumash in the middle, next to it the Targum, in between them is the Masorah Ktana. On the middle, closer to the binding, what do you find? Rashi. Right? It's the same concept of a glossed text. A text that has commentaries on it, but you have the major text in the middle and the comments on the sides. On the inside is Rashi, and on the outside, right, it says on the top. It says on the top, Rashi and Ibn Ezra. Ibn Ezra. Wait, what's missing? Ramban. The other Spanish scholar. He's at the bottom on this one.
Yes.
You see the Ramban on both pages? And what else do you see? Sforno, the Italian scholar. He's here too. Just it's a different layout. But it's the same primary Rishonim. Okay? Then, if you look on the far right and over here underneath, you see it's something called Toldot Aharon. Toldot Aharon gives you the references to the Talmud. Remember I told you in the previous one, Taf Aleph stands for Toldot Aharon, and they didn't have that in the English. They didn't notice it. But I explained to you what it is. Oh, because it didn't have it on the pages. But it had it in this book that I was showing you. Remember I showed you the Toldot Aharon.
Oh, no, it's not.
Taf Aleph over here. This is the Toldot Aharon. He links between the Talmud and the Psukim, where the Psukim quoted in the Talmud. So they have that over here in this edition. This edition, they didn't have the Toldot Aharon. They took out that reference work. But here they have it. They have it on the right-hand side over here and on the bottom over here. Each page, they find the Toldot Aharon somewhere. What was you going to say, Eitan?
Sforno is not every page.
Right, he didn't write a comment on every pasuk. Yes, Hananel.
I can't understand how it goes. Why reading the Gemara or something? Why reading? Should I follow with the Rabbi, Rambam or something mini Rab, right?
Right.
I'm going which should I go and prefer or something like it or
Right.
I,
Right. It's a very good question. With so many commentaries, who's right? Who's right? What's the best one?
Rambam.
Oh. Oh yeah, you want to fight it out? I say Rashi.
But Rambam is.
So
Depends on the rabbi.
this teaches you that when we study the Torah, there's no right and wrong. They fight with each other, they argue, it's a conversation, it's a dialogue. And usually we say they're both right. They're both showing a different perspective, different way of looking at the words of the Torah. Different interpretations. So I can't read everything all at once. Usually we start with the Chumash, and if you knew Aramaic, we'd start with Onkelos, because that's the oldest. But the most popular ever in the history of the Jewish people, the most popular commentary is Rashi. That's why it gets to be here up on top in the margins. And after that, I would say Ramban is the next most popular one. But again, there's no, it's not a popularity contest.
No competition.
It's a question of every commentator has their style and their attitude and what they add uniquely to them. All these are called Parshanim. Parshanim, commentators. And they write Perushim, commentaries on the Torah. So these are the two formats I showed you of Mikraot Golot. They both say Mikraot Golot. Here, Mikraot Golot. In this Mikraot Golot. But the printer chose a little bit of a different format. And excellent. I forget who said it here, but why is this bringing you closer to the Talmud? Because this is the format of the Talmud also. That the major text, also decided by Weinberg, a Christian printer in the beginning of the 1500s. And he decided, it turns out that this format, this layout of the page is very appropriate and useful for studying Torah. Because of the conversation, because of the layers. You have the big font and the smaller font and the block letters, which are easier to read, and the Rashi script, which they show you this is on a different level. It's a different layer of tradition. And of course the conversation between the countries and the generations. So this edition I think is only Rishonim, right? Look at this. If you turn a few pages, look here. Kli Yakar. Try to find at the end of the Parsha, they decided to print the Kli Yakar at the end of the Parsha, not on each page. The Kli Yakar that we had on each page here in the previous version, here, look at the end of each Parsha, and you'll find a long, long section. Flip ahead till you see, we have different books. I have Dvarim. Here, you take this. And maybe your edition doesn't have what I have. The edition I have has at the end of the parasha Kli Yakar. That's only this edition. This one doesn't. The one most of you have doesn't have the Kli Yakar at all. But this printer used the old print, but they added in. Right? They didn't change the page because they just photocopied. I hope they didn't steal it from the other printer. But they said, well, I'm going to add in Kli Yakar at the end of the parsha. Okay? So, and then here you have the printer. Here they added in the haftarah. At the end of every parsha they put the haftarah. So it could be used for reading the Torah on Shabbat in the Bet Knesset. It's good to have the haftarah after each parasha. So this is the Mikraot Golot. Now, there's going to be a test on this too. Wait, I have for you summary. Here. Pass these around. Pass these around. The third page. Yes? Pinchas.
אם אני רוצה לקרוא הכל,
Yeah.
אני צריך לומד לעברית, רבה עברית.
הרבה עברית. There are translations. Some of these are translated.
אני רק יכול לקרוא
Chumash,
חומש,
Onkelos.
אונקלוס.
Because you don't know the script. You don't know the font. You don't know the font. You don't know how, but you have to learn. It's not hard. I actually have here. Do I have enough for everybody? Let me see. I have here for you. 1 second, please. I have here a nice page. Where did it go?
יש לי
Shalom, Boker Tov.
שלום, ערב, שנה טובה.
Sweet.
איך היה שבת? היה טוב, קרה שבת והיה טיול שבת.
ראיתי, אין טיול, כן. אבל עדיין נעשה היום, ואז מחר יהיו עם כולם, אני חושב, זה יהיה חוויה.
מה מחר?
מחר שיעשו עוד סבתו משפט עם כולם.
מתי? איך?
יש למעלה, ב-11, לישראלים. כתוב שם. לא יודע, נכון. אתה תחליט. בסדר. אז זה יכול להיות חוויה מגבשת.
Can I take this gentleman from logistic help to the 35?
Sure, בטח. So this I can send you. I'll make a copy tomorrow. There's the regular letters and then the Rashi script. You have to learn how to read. It's the same letters. It's just a different font. It's a different format. So once you read this, you can learn so much more Torah because they're in a different font. But it's also Hebrew, and of course you have to study. But each letter is a little different. Aleph is very different, right? Bet a little different. Gimel is very similar. Dalet is similar. Hey similar. Vav similar. Zayin. Chet is almost the same. Tet is almost the same. Yud, Chav, Sofit, Lamed, almost the same. Mem, almost the same. Mem Sofit, almost the same. Nun, Samech, very similar. Ayin, very similar. Pei, Pei Sofit. Tzadi is very different. Kuf is the same. Reish is the same. Shin, very different. The Shin is very different, as you can see. So the Aleph different, and the Tzadi is different, but not very fine, little changes. And then you're able to read more and more commentaries. Yes. Okay. So you have some hurdles. What's a hurdle in Chinese? You have to jump over. When you're running, you jump over a hurdle. It's like a barrier. You have to jump over. So the burials of the reading of the text, the letters, and then there's the burial of the language, understanding of Hebrew. There's biblical Hebrew, and then there's rabbinic Hebrew, and then there's modern Hebrew, what we use today. So there's a lot to learn, but it's worth it. All this Torah gets opened up for you. Just keep learning, and you get better at it. The more you try, you get better at it. Anyways, this page, you have text B here? This page, let's take a look at it. It's a similar page, but it describes this style of printing. What's number 1? In the middle? That's the text itself. What's number 2? No. It says Yonatan ben Uzziel. Because this text is from Shmuel. That's right. It's a prophet. And they added in here, for some reason, not the Targum of Onkelos, but the Targum of Yonatan. Yes, that's right. It's not the Chumash. Number 3, Rashi. We're going in order of the chronology, right? Move ahead 1,000 years. Number 4, Radak. This is a commentary on the Nevi'im. Here I have one copy of, here's the book of Menachem. And this is the format. We have Rashi and Radak. Rabbi David Kimchi. Where did he live?
Same time of Rashi.
No.
No?
In 1991.
It says here. 1191. A little bit after Rashi. Yeah. A little bit after Rashi. Number 5.
Ralbach.
Ralbag. Rabbi Levi ben Gershom. He's sometimes known as Gersonides. Right? There's Maimonides and Nachmanides. So he's Gersonides. Gimel with a Ralbag. Rabbi Levi ben Gershom. And 14th century, a little bit later than Rashi and Ramban. But Ralbag is a commentary on the Nevi'im, many times printed. Number 6 and 7 are key when you're studying Tanakh. Whoever wants can have one. This is I have 3 books of Tanakh. I don't have so many, but you can see who wants one to keep. Who's going to use it? These are 2 books of Menachem. In any case, at the bottom, 6 and 7 are very, very practical. As you can see, when do they come from? They come from 1770. It's the same fellow who did a commentary on the Nevi'im. Mitzudat David is a commentary which explains the content, the meaning, and Mitzudat Zion is words, difficult words. He explains difficult words. Only that word, not the idea of the sentence or
He's like
the
a
meaning.
dictionary.
Like a dictionary on the Tanakh. On each, so he wrote both different parts of his commentary. So that David and Mitzudat Zion, they're very good basic interpretation of the what the prophet means, what the words, what's going on. Very clear, simple explanation, like you would say today in an art scroll commentary, right? Explains what's going on, and of course Rashi is everywhere. Rashi on the entire Tanakh. What else do we have there? That's it. That's all we have. The other things you have a few other Perushim. They don't even mention. You can see in between the Targum and the Navi, Masorah, those little notes which say about the spelling of the text. It's the leftovers. They don't have the full Masorah Gdolah, but they have some of the Masorah Ktana. Yes.
I have a question. I know his name is not here, but who's the Ravad? Was he also commentating the Ravad?
Ravad, there were 3. Rabbi Avram ben David. Aleph Bet Reish Aleph Bet David stands for Rabbi Avram ben David. There were 3 of them. The most famous one that you're probably asking about is the one who writes the comments on the Rambam.
Yes.
He disagreed with many of the. He wrote glosses
Yeah.
on the Rambam's Mishneh Torah.
Oh, so it's only not on the Chumash.
It's not on the Chumash. I don't think I've seen a perush of his on the Chumash. Yes. He was from Pasquer. Pasquer is in between France and Spain. There's an area. It's called what's it called between France and Spain?
Andorra. Luxembourg.
Yeah, Andorra. And there's a name for it.
The mountains?
The Alpen.
I can't remember it now. Anyways, whoever can do well on this page and knows how to name all of the commentaries here can get a complete set of the Chumash in this format. Just like that.
Prize.
2 formats of Mikraot Gedolot. First prize and second prize. Exactly. Okay? So this is for tomorrow. You get a full set of the Chumash Mikraot Gedolot. I don't have a good translation of Mikraot Gedolot other than the Great Bible. The Great Bible. The way it's printed, quite commonly printed in this format, it's called the Great Bible, Mikraot Gedolot. And if you want to study the Chumash, you start off with, of course, the text itself. Next you do Unkelus. And finally, then you go to Rashi. Once you've mastered Rashi, number of years studying Rashi, every week, you go on and learn Ramban. Ramban quotes the Chumash, he quotes Rashi. Half of it you already know. And then he adds his comments and how he disagrees and he adds things. And then you study maybe Sforno, whatever you like. Whatever you choose to study next. Ibn Ezra many times is because the Ramban, he argues with Rashi and he quotes Ibn Ezra also a lot.
Yes. Also,
But Ibn Ezra is a little bit off a harder text. It's very, he wasn't very clear and full. He was very cryptic in his writing. Ibn Ezra is a little bit harder. And then you study a whole other approach. You get the Rashbam. Rashbam and the Ralbag, very different approach to commentaries. Each time you study a little more. And if you want a particular topic, I want to learn about, what's the topic this week?
The giving of the Torah.
What? Huh? The giving of the Torah. I really want to understand. Okay, Yitro comes. So you can read what Rashi says, and then you can read what Ramban says, and then you can read what Ibn Ezra says, and then what's Sforno, even all the way to the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. 800 years of Jewish scholarship in one book. And then you can say a Dvar Torah. Share it with your family. There's different ways of interpreting why Yitro came and when he came. Rashi says X. Ibn Ezra says Y. And the most important, what's the most important commentator?
Uncle. Mama. Yourself.
There you go. And I think what speaks to me, not that one is right and one is wrong, but from where I'm standing today, I appreciate this approach of the Orach Chaim because it speaks to me and what I'm going through in my life. So this is the best type of Dvar Torah. You study some of the earlier commentators, some of the later commentaries. Of course, you study the Chumash itself to start with. And then you bring your personal, you join the conversation. You join the conversation and say, not that I'm right and they're all wrong, but maybe you choose one of the commentaries that what it means for you and why you think, or maybe you'll have a new reading that's totally different than any of the commentaries before you. This is Torah Sheba'al Peh. This is the oral Torah. Continues until today. Okay? Yafeh. All right. So go this way. Questions? Yeah.
Yes, Torah has 70 years, right? Is it right or?
70 commentaries? What do you mean?
70 years.
Faces, yes, 70 faces. Exactly. That's what we're showing here. Here there's only 10? 12?
It's okay. Yes, I understand it. But some from my Rav from Sidrot.
Okay. Okay, what did they tell you?
I'm worried about they focus only on a good thing or a bad thing. Torah has 70 years, only they focus on the good or bad. If it is good, it's okay. On the bad side,
Right.
There are many 70, right?
Right. Right.
That's why.
So it's a good question. The concept of 70 faces of the Torah. Do you remember what else did we have as 70?
70 nations.
70 nations. What else did we have? 70?
70 souls.
70 souls who went down to Egypt of the Jewish people. Right?
70 names of God.
What was in last week's Parsha?
The members of this.
Jewish people came out of Egypt. Where did they get to?
To the Yam.
And then after the Yam, where did they go?
Shining. To God.
To where?
Shining.
Not yet. Before.
To Refidim.
First, they went to a place called Marah. What did they find? Bitter waters. Then they went to another place called
Refidim.
No?
Elim.
Elim.
Elim or Elima. And in Elim, what did they find?
The trees.
How many trees?
70.
70 palm trees. Why does the Torah tell us that there were 70 palm trees?
the one.
Special number.
And it says that there were 12 springs
Yeah.
and 70 palm trees. That's a very sweet idea. What was so special about the place of Elim? Elim means strength. Like an Eyal. We said is a deer. It's a strong animal. Like a moose. Eyal. Not Ayal. Ayal is a sheep. Remember we said there's so Ayil is a sheep, and Ayal is the strong moose type of animal. A deer. Like Chayal, Ayal. That's a good way to remember it. And anyways, they came to Elim. I believe the Torah is giving us a message, not just history. They went to there. What is this, a travelogue?
No.
I went from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, to there. Who cares? What I care about is what Ravid said. They got to Sinai next. That's really the next major event. Exodus, splitting of the sea, Sinai. And it's true, they go to Sinai. But why do I have to know where they stopped along the way? So what happened at Marah? They had bitter waters, and Moshe was told by Hashem, throw a tree into the waters. And that tree made the waters sweet. Beautiful. So, okay, they had to have what to drink. And then we saw that there was the man, so they had to have what to eat. But maybe there's messages here. Which tree made the bitter waters sweet?
Palm tree, I guess.
What tree do we know in the Torah? A very famous tree. Sometimes when we put back the Torah, we sing, Eitz Chaim hi, lama chazikim bach. You know that? Heard that tune? Sometimes they sing it. Eitz HaChaim. Where was that mentioned in the Torah?
Gan Eden?
In the Garden of Eden. There were two famous trees, right? The tree of good and evil, and the tree of life and death. So the Torah is called the tree of life. So what the Jewish people were missing when they came out of Egypt is they needed instruction, they needed guidance, they needed the Torah. They're going to Har Sinai to have the revelation. Our sages interpreted that immediately after leaving, when they came to Marah, they started to receive Torah. That's what made the bitter waters, sweet. And then when they went to Elim and they were 12, what does 12 represent? The 12 tribes. So there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees. It could be they went to a place called Elim and there were 70 palm trees. But doesn't that make you think that maybe there's a message here? 12 springs and 70 palm trees. Our sages say it refers to the 70 elders. The members of the Sanhedrin. And the Zekenim. The Zekenim, who were the leadership. Right? Moshe and the elders. Moshe came and said, I'm going to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. He came and spoke to the elders. And the elders went with him, right? It's just a comment, you can ignore it. Somebody talking?
No, the Google keep on pop up.
All right, forget it. It's all right. As long as it's still working, it's okay. So the 70 elders. There's a concept that 70 is the number for comprehensive leadership, comprehensive instruction. And so when we say the Torah has 70 faces, but there's only 12 here, or less even, 8 in the other format. That's 7 or 8 or 12 out of the 70. What does that mean? That there's many different interpretations of the Torah. Now, yes, you ask a very good question, Hananel. I believe that there can be a type of interpretation which I would call it number 71. That's an invalid interpretation of the Torah. Not because of its number, but because the 70 means the concept is that there's many, many ways to interpret the Torah. Can there be invalid, wrong interpretations of the Torah? Yes, there can. If somebody doesn't accept the tradition that this is the words of God, he doesn't show respect and understanding that this conversation is between generations and between countries, but we all have a common assumption. Assumption is that there's a written Torah and an oral Torah. Anybody who ignores those basic assumptions of Torah, I would call him not a valid face of the 70 faces of the Torah. There can be such commentaries. We try not to bring them into the Beit Midrash. We try to study. And the truth is, some people said that Ralbag, maybe he shouldn't be brought onto the page, because he says some things which are curious, so different. But in the end of the day, we know that he was a great, great God-fearing Jew who accepted the premises, the assumptions of the Torah scholarship. And so he got onto the page, and he's considered one of the 70. Even the Ibn Ezra, some people said, wow, some of his commentary, it's on the edge. That's right. But in the end of the day, we have Jewish history that sort of decides for us, and the rabbis and our leadership, and they recognize that there's a conversation, and there might be some extreme opinions, but they can be accepted as part of the Jewish tradition. Of course, there are some which are beyond the pale, and they get rejected. Does that answer your question? I think so. All right. Yafeh.
Rabbi, can you explain this Menzura? What is the meaning of Menzura again?
Masora,
Yes.
You might have heard the term, the Masoretic text. Because who writes them? The Masoretes. A Masorete is one of these scholars that worked on preserving the integrity of the text of the Chumash. They wrote Masoretic notes on every word and how it's supposed to be spelled. They were such experts. It's almost like they continued the tradition of the Sofrim. The Sofrim lived in an earlier age. Who remembers when the Sofrim lived? The scribes. That's right. After. But the Second Temple period. And Ezra was known as Ezra Sofer, the scribe. He worked on the text. And you know why they're called Sofrim? What does it mean, lispor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting. They counted the letters of the Torah in order to be able to preserve it. If you count and say, this parsha has this number of letters, so then you can check yourself, because everything was handwritten by manuscript. Maybe somebody forgot a letter, left one out. If you're able to count them, that's a verification method. Until today, we use these kind of verification methods for numbers, for numbers in the bank accounts. Computer codes are the way we keep security on the digital information is with counting the number of numbers, and then there's different ways to tell them to each other. There are codes hidden there inside the bits and the bytes, but we won't get into. I don't know that much about the details of how the security works with these codes written, but it's based on the number of letters you expect to be there, and if you find that one's off, you can check yourself and right away catch it. So the Masoret and the Masoretic notes were about the number of words and the number of letters in the various sections of the Torah, and that preserves the integrity of the text. That's the Masoretes. Yes.
I have to go, I think, now, right?
Yeah. Rav Listman asked you to come. We have a special session now coming up. The next shiur is not in the library; it's in the social hall.
The social
You can take it; it's yours. Yeah.
Party.
The party room. That's right. We're gonna have a party now
Ochel, right?
with food, with
Below,
special fruits of the land of Israel. Yes.
Below,
Below, underneath. Below, underneath. -1. -1. In the new building, -1.
We was there yesterday.
Okay, good. Oh, you watched the movie there? Okay, so you're welcome. I'll see you soon. So yeah, we're finishing up here. Anyways, that's the Masoretes. Baalei HaMasorah. And they wrote their commentary in two ways, the Masoretic notes. There's the Masorah Ktana, which is really usually just one or two letters in the margin. The most famous comment is Lamed, with a little chupchik. What does that mean? Yeah, Lamed with a little apostrophe. That stands for the word Leita. Leita is Aramaic for there is none. Does not exist. What does not exist? This version of the word, this spelling of the word, once only in the entire Tanakh. So that's very helpful. So you know that this is a unique spelling. So if you see it spelled like a different word in another pasuk, you'll know that someone's off, some spelling is wrong. So that's an example of Masorah Ktana. And the Masorah Gdolah is, of course, the longer, still a few words, but it's a longer explanation of what they're trying to say, how many, like, for example, we saw how many times this phrase appears at the beginning of a pasuk. We said Se'u. We were learning Bamidbar. We saw Se'u, the first word. So they say it appears 12 times at the beginning of a pasuk. The word Se'u, Samach, Sin, Aleph, Vav. This is part of the longer Masorah Gdolah. But this is their Masoretic notes, their textual precision. Okay, so that's good. And what does it doesn't have a year for them here, huh? Because the page with the explanations doesn't have but they were in the 7th, 8th, 9th century. So that's why the time of the Geonim. That's why I said to you they're in the time of the Geonim.
But
yeah.
read in the Kuzari that like Rav Yehuda Halevi, he said like the Masoretes they base they have the traditions from the oral Torah. So people who reject the oral Torah ultimately reject them and are not able to read the
That's
Torah.
right. They can't preserve the text. There's a direct line from the Sopharim, from the people that the rabbis which were involved in preserving the text of the Torah, even though this is the Second Temple time. And this is 500, 600, 700, 800 years later. The Masorah got written down, I think only in, the 8th or the 9th century. Not sure. I have to double check it, but I think that's the earliest that we have of the actual tradition as a book. Masorah Gdolah, Masorah Ktana. We have the manuscripts from that period, so it's hundreds of years later. But orally, these things were preserved, and that's how we have. We assume that the text we have is very close to the original. No broken telephone here. At least since the Baalei HaMasorah, year 900, 800. What happened before that? We assume that they were giving over this precision orally. But it turned into a book form. These notes got written down. And since then, we've been using them to write the Sifrei Torah. And it's amazing. How many years has it been since then? Almost 1,500 years. Very, very small percentage of discrepancies. Almost no changes between a Sefer Torah that you find from Spain and from Germany. From Iraq, and North Africa, Morocco. All the letters are exactly the same. How is that a miracle? Because of the Masoretic notes. Very, very fine, precise work. A lot of detailed work. Because we treat the text of the Torah as holy, so special, that every letter has to be in the right place.
I also heard that when they discover the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a lot of like, wow, it's correct. The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic texts. And
That's
it's
right.
Many years
That's right.
between, so it's like
That's right.
Bible's real.
Right. There were two major Masoretic traditions, and there was two that lived in the 10th century. Two scribes, who wrote versions of the Torah based on their traditions. One was named Ben Asher, and I forget the other one, Naphtali. These two sons of the son of Asher and the son of Naphtali, they were the major leaders. I believe both of them actually were Karaites. They were part of the Karaites. But the Karaites, of course, they didn't have they didn't hold by any of the other traditions, so they made extra efforts to preserving the text. But they did a good job of preserving the text, so we have the oldest manuscript of the Tanakh, based on the greatest Masoret ever, Ben Asher, became known as the Aleppo Codex. Keter, the crown of Aram Tzova. Aram Tzova is Haleb, Aleppo in English, a town in Iraq, which kept this a codex is a book where they not written in scroll form, but in page after page, written by this Ben Asher. He signed it from about year 900, and the Rambam attested. Rambam in the 12th century, he attested that this is the best text. And when I wrote my Sefer Torah, I wrote it based on Ben Asher's edition. And this text of the Rambam, he had the Ben Asher Codex. He was in Egypt, right? He was a doctor to the Sultan in Egypt at the end of his life, the last long period of his life. And they preserved it in Cairo, in the synagogue, for hundreds and hundreds of years, until it was transferred over to Iraq, to Haleb, to Aleppo, in Syria actually, of modern day Syria, and it almost got destroyed. 1948, the Syrians burnt down the synagogue where the Aleppo Codex was being kept by the Jewish community as the prized object for hundreds of years. And it was saved at the last minute, smuggled to the land of Israel, and it now is
48, you said?
in 1948. It was smuggled in the big 50s. It was smuggled to Israel, and it's now on display in the Israel Museum. You can go see this text, which is the oldest, most authoritative Masoretic text that we use, going back to the Masoretes from the 10th century. Now we're in the 22nd century. It's 1,200 years old. We have it. Of course, we have to end here, but I'm going to end the class with a mystery. Until today, we don't know what happened. Unfortunately, of this most precious manuscript, apparently it was complete, or almost complete, when it was in the Bet Knesset in Aleppo, in Syria. In the Israel Museum, now I think part of it's being preserved in the National Library, just about a kilometer away from here. Somehow, almost the entire text of the Chumash disappeared. For years, the consensus was it must have been burnt up in the fire when they ruined the when they put the synagogue to flames, because they were so angry of the creation of the state of Israel in 1948. But now it's become clear that maybe it was stolen. It wasn't really. The marks they thought was ashes and smoke were actually just some kind of a growth. And there was no sign of any fire on the manuscript. Someone took. Maybe it's still out there somewhere. We're going to find it one day soon. The entire text, the most authoritative text of the Chumash, of Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Dvarim, the most important part of the entire Tanakh. The rest of it was found, and it's in the museum. But the text of the Chumash is gone missing. And there's at least 3 books written on this mystery. And there's been 2 movies made about how the book was smuggled from here to there. It was the prize jewel of the Syrian community. They're angry until today. Those people who convinced them to send it to the land of Israel. Because en route, it was smuggled in a washing machine. And it's really a spy story. And until today, we don't know the answer to the mystery. Where is the most important part of this manuscript? That's the Masoretic text, the most authoritative one we have until today. There's Ben Naphtali and there's others, but we have to stop here for today. And we'll see you in a few minutes for a special party to celebrate Tu B'Shvat.
חזק וברוך.
Baruch